It starts Thursday on Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
Classic Thanksgiving matchup, the Egg Bowl. Mississippi State is at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Ole Miss favored by 3. Ashton, what happens here? Or is it just the type of game where you just watch it and just enjoy whatever happens?
No, I mean that's the Egg Bowl. That's the
Yeah.
the whole point of it. You have no idea what's going to happen. There's a chance that both of these coaches might not be back. I mean, there's a real shot that Leach is not the guy at Mississippi State, and that they're kind of done with him. There's kind of those rumblings underneath, some undertones. Yeah, on the message boards, at least for Mississippi State, they would say that Kiffin is probably gone. It feels like he has a foot out the door already. Let's just see if both coaches even show up. That's more what I'm curious. Anything can happen here. You remember just a couple of years ago, DK Metcalf, he actually got in there and he pretended that he was he just scored a touchdown for Ole Miss, pretended that he was a dog.
Elijah Moore, I believe it was.
Was it not DK Metcalf? I thought that was DK Metcalf.
It was
that the year
after
before?
Metcalf.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. Good NFL receiver, but just doing dumb stuff for whatever reason. We're not even sure why he did that, but he did. So yeah, it's the Egg Bowl. Like this is really good TV, especially late on like Thanksgiving night. Yeah, you want some of that.
You don't watch the Egg Bowl to watch the highest quality football in college football. You watch the Egg Bowl to see just ridiculous, insane things happen, and you just enjoy it.
Do not bet on this game. Do not bet on this game.
No.
Don't do that.
All right, Friday. Number of games on Friday as well. We'll just talk about one. Florida is at Florida State. Florida State, a 10-point favorite. They're playing really well as of late.
Yes.
Florida, both. I mean, they're playing well one week and then they're losing to Vanderbilt. What do you expect out of this game?
Florida State is really good right now. They've put up 40, well, almost, with the exception of Syracuse, they put up 38, but like they're scoring a bunch of points against the last 4 teams they played. They had that tough stretch in the middle of their year where they had back-to-back losses, Wake Forest, NC State, and Clemson. But they have put together a nice stretch since then, winning 4 games, blowouts every time. They're just hammering people right now. I think Florida State wins. I think Florida State probably covers. Not betting on this one, but I really like where they're at with Norvell. That Florida State could have went a lot of ways after that 3-game stretch where you lost 3 in a row. They rebounded as well as you possibly could. Just go blow teams out. Go blow teams out. Try to go 9-3. That's a good year for Florida State. That's a building year for them. They have a ways to go still, but that offense is humming right now. I like Florida State.
Yeah, Florida State fans. If you'd have asked me before the year, will you take 9-3? 100% would have said yes. Like that's a great season, even though it's been kind of quiet. Like sort of behind the scenes, they might go 9-3.
Right.
Good year by them. All right, moving on to Saturday. Starts off with the game. Michigan is at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Ohio State is 7.5-point favorite. We've talked about this game a lot. Obviously, last year Michigan won for the first time in a while.
Yeah.
In the snow, in the cold.
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to be a little bit warmer this year, but also there's rain most likely going to happen in this game, so there's some weather to deal with. We differed on this game last year. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on this game this year.
So the number opened at 8.5 this year. The number was exactly 8.5 last year as well. Ohio State was also favored. We know how that one ended up. I like Michigan. I think Michigan matches up really well with Ohio State. Michigan has modeled their whole team to match up with Ohio State. I think running the ball, taking your limiting possessions, and playing sound. Don't turn the ball over. McCarthy, he hasn't been dynamic like what we were hoping for maybe with McCarthy, but he hasn't turned the ball over. He's not throwing picks. So I think you do that, you take care of the ball. I'd like to see McCarthy do some stuff running. I think he needs to be really active running against Ohio State. I don't think they do well against that. I like Michigan. I'm not sure they'll win outright. I do think they'll cover. I think Michigan keeps this one close. Yeah, like you mentioned, there's a chance this one gets a little sloppy, some rain. It's supposed to be a little chilly, kind of windy. I have the Columbus weather pulled up on my phone and check it regularly in the last really 2 or 3 weeks for this. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to be on the West Coast, so this game is going to start at 9 a.m. for me. I will be up watching the whole thing. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think it'll be really close. I'm going to go ahead and say Michigan wins. I think
Okay.
that I definitely have them covering. I think Michigan wins outright.
All right. I'm going to disagree with you, not like strongly, but I'm going to take Ohio State to win. I just feel like their whole off season and really the entire season as well has been trained on this game. They
Sure.
hated that they lost this game a year ago.
Sure.
They can't stand it. They view Michigan as their little brother, rightly or
Yeah.
wrongly.
Yeah.
Their whole season has been leading up to this, I think. So I do think Ohio State is the side. This feels like the game where afterwards you're like, how did we not see that coming? Like, no
Sure.
matter what happens, like it just feels
Yeah.
like you should have seen it coming no matter what happens. I don't know. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Definitely going to be watching this game.
Yep.
Another game that you just need to be tuning into, and there's too many of these, by the way.
Sure.
South Carolina at Clemson. The only reason I would say it's must-watch TV is because of what we just saw last week with South Carolina destroying Tennessee. Clemson is a 14.5-point favorite.
Yeah.
If last week had never happened, we would look at that line and wonder why. At least I would. You might understand it.
Yeah.
Last week did happen. Like, there is a non-zero chance now that South Carolina puts up 60 points in Clemson.
I know. I know. Fair enough.
What
Fair enough.
do you expect to happen?
I have no idea like what will actually be happening. A game I'm not betting on. I think it'll be really entertaining though. I think South Carolina could go and beat Clemson. You know how big a deal that would be for South Carolina.
Right.
Clemson is you don't want to say Clemson's sputtering. I don't like that. I mean, they are like offensively, it's not great, but they haven't beaten a really talented team. Like Clemson hasn't come out and made a statement. Clemson really needs a statement win. If you can come out and beat South Carolina by 3-4 scores, like what Clemson's capable of, that's big for the committee because I think Clemson needs help at this point. I think they're behind USC, not just in the playoff rankings, but like just in the way that people view them right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think Clemson is clearly a step behind USC right now. Should both teams win out, battling kind of for maybe that last playoff spot potentially. I think Clemson needs this one. South Carolina, really, they've had to take a backseat to Clemson for a long time now. They're feeling really good about themselves. They are, and rightly so. It's going to be really good. It's going to be really entertaining. Go to the game if you have a chance. If you're in the area, some reason, live in the area, go to that football game. I think it's going to be really cool. Good atmosphere in Clemson.
I'm going to zag just a tad. Okay. I think that this is the type of game that feels like it's going to be bigger than it actually ends up being. Bigger was maybe the wrong word. Tighter is maybe a better word.
Okay.
I think Clemson wins this game relatively comfortably.
They need to. Yeah.
I think that South Carolina, like I said before, like if you ignore what happened last week, and you can't completely do that, but it just feels like this would be Clemson by 17.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that I think that it's more likely South Carolina is the team that we saw the first 11 weeks of the year, as opposed to in week 12 when they decided to all of a sudden turn into 2019 LSU, to use a joke there that we've been talking about. I just feel like you said, Clemson kind of needs this win. They could bail the committee out by losing it. Make their job a little easier. I think if the final spot comes down to one loss Clemson against one loss USC, why don't we just take USC's offense and Clemson's defense and put them in there?
I like that. That's a good football team. Good football team. That team could go right now against Georgia. Right now.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
That team would probably lay points against Georgia. Just saying.
Probably. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. No, I like that.
All right, another rivalry game. Louisville is at Kentucky. Kentucky, a 3.5-point favorite. Louisville fairly hot recently. Kentucky, not so much, but fought last week against Georgia, at least defensively. Does it make sense to you that Kentucky is favored here?
Does it make sense to anyone that Will Levis is still going up the draft boards? No. The correct answer is no. Nothing makes sense about the Kentucky team. They lost to Vanderbilt and played super physical against Georgia. It made no sense. How do you lose to Vanderbilt and then come out and be that like that physical against the run against Georgia. I didn't understand that. The correct answer is I don't really know. There's certain teams, if you want to bet on teams that you have a good feel of. Kentucky, they've shown you nothing. Same with Louisville, by the way.
True.
You do not know what you're getting with these football teams.
Yeah.
So watch the football game. It'll be entertainment. It could go either way. Kentucky could blow out Louisville. Louisville could blow out Kentucky. And you don't really know until you start watching. So yeah, I think, just save your money. Don't bet. Please don't bet on this one. But do watch. I think it'll be a good football game.
Right. Okay, Auburn is at Alabama, the Iron Bowl. Bama favored by 22.5. Alabama put up a pretty good showing last week. Auburn put up a pretty good showing last week. Alabama, they've been fading like we've been talking about. Clearly not their best year. Yeah, I don't know. Is there a chance that with the interim coach here that Auburn pulls out some Auburn magic and just makes this a game down to the last drive like we saw a year ago?
Auburn might win. Auburn might just flat out win this football game. Alabama has nothing to play for. Zero things. They're eliminated from playoff contention, right? They're not going to get to go. So the only that's all those guys at Alabama know. They don't not go to the play. What does that even mean for them? What we're going to go to the Citrus Bowl? What's the point of doing that? I don't think they care. I really don't think they care. Auburn is playing with their hair on fire. They're not very good, but they're playing super, super hard for Cadillac Williams.
Yep.
He's probably not going to get the job full time. Again, I think that'll go to Kiffin, but Auburn's playing really, really hard. I think Auburn can come out and push Alabama around a little bit. I do. I think this game will stay close longer than you think. Auburn wasn't any good last year at all. And right. Alabama had the Heisman winner, and that game went to 4 overtimes last year. So
and Auburn should have won. Yeah.
Auburn absolutely dominated that game and had them shut out until the midway through the fourth quarter. So yeah, it's the Iron Bowl. Anything can happen. I would be on Auburn. If it's at 22.5, take Auburn in the points. I really like that. I think they cover.
I agree. Okay, Iowa State is at TCU. TCU 9.5-point favorite. This is the last game that they need to go undefeated in the regular season. Obviously, they still have the Big 12 championship game coming up. None of us saw this coming. What a year by TCU. They keep escaping. They keep winning games by 1 score, which you could talk about what that means for next year, but this is not next year. This is this year. This team feels, they a little bit of the team of destiny type of thing, at least for a regular season.
Yeah.
Any chance Iowa State just mucks this game up and drags them down into the mud and finds a way to pull it out, or is TCU going to win this game by 1 score like they always do?
Are you saying that Iowa State has a coach that has been in these situations before and continually upsets top-ranked teams?
Right.
What? Of course, there's a really good chance that will happen.
Yeah.
The line, TCU only favored by 9.5. Iowa State they're 1-12, 1-7 in Big 12 play. Iowa State might be the worst team in the Big 12. There's a chance. And TCU is the best team, right?
Right.
We don't even have a 10-point spread. We do not even have a 10-point spread. So Vegas is telling you again, this game's going to be close. Anything can happen here. Iowa State they're a program that's used to this. Don't bet on it, man. There's some games just stay away from. Just stay away from this one.
Yep.
And is this one of your locks?
No, it's not.
Come on.
No, not a chance.
Anything can happen here. The saving grace, it is in Fort Worth. That's good for TCU. I think the weather's going to be pretty good. Again, I think that's good. I think. I like TCU. Maybe this time they actually have time to call a timeout and then kick the game-winning field goal. That's kind of what I think is going to happen. Maybe they'll have learned from last week and call a timeout first.
Right. Okay, LSU is at Texas A&M. LSU a 9.5-point favorite. Almost feels like we shouldn't even talk about this game, but then again, look at the names on the helmets, and you sort of have to. These are 2 programs going in wildly different directions.
Sure.
Where do you start with this game?
So you start with playoff implications. LSU, if LSU wins out with the Tennessee loss this past week, if LSU wins out, they get in. You're not going to be able to keep they will have the best win in all of college football. They're currently ranked. Well, they will be number 5 tomorrow night after Tennessee falls below them. LSU will be in. I think there's almost no doubt about that to me. So there is playoff implications. This is at Kyle Field. It's only a 10-point spread. A&M, A&M's going to kind of pull a South Carolina a little bit. We have players, we've got dudes. We're not very good, but for one game, for 60 minutes, we will galvanize. We will give our best shot against LSU. That could really happen. That really could. I think A&M's fractured though. Like, I don't think they're going to galvanize. I don't think there's not going to be any glue over the week that pulls them together, or at least I'm not betting on it, right? LSU is 6-1 in conference play. A&M 1-6 in conference play. They have nothing to play for. They will not be going to a bowl game. All that said, I think it's must-watch TV. Like, it's playoff implications, and A&M absolutely could win this game at home. It could happen. It could happen.
I have a hard time seeing it.
Yeah, me too.
Texas A&M just played literally the worst team in FBS, the 131st best team in the country, UMass. Yep. And that game was trash. I mean,
it was a close game at half too. Yeah.
Just to ask all the Texas A&M fans that left at halftime, didn't come back. Did you see pictures? Because there was like nobody in the stands after halftime.
Right.
I think that a lot of players in this team are just done with the season. I know you could try to get them up for it's the LSU game. I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they're going to be motivated. I don't think they're very good, even if they would be motivated. I think LSU's playing pretty well, and I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. I don't think it's written in stone that they're in if they win out, but winning big here would be part of the puzzle, and so I think they're going to be motivated. So I'm taking LSU to cover. We'll talk about that later. But,
okay.
Yeah. Okay, another big rivalry game. Notre Dame is at USC. USC a 4.5-point favorite. This game is definitely a clash of styles, to say the least. We have USC with their high-powered offense and not very good defense. We have Notre Dame with a good defense, good running game, not a whole lot in the passing game. Ashton, what are you looking for in this game?
The fact that the line is so low, like it's suspiciously low. It feels like USC should be favored by a lot more, especially with that offense going against Drew Pine. You really like the quarterback advantage for USC right there. But I think there is something to it. The fact that Notre Dame could slow this game down, run the ball. It's what we wanted them to do against Ohio State in the first game of the year. Notre Dame's 8-3. And had they not lost to Stanford and Marshall, they would be 10-1, and this would be for a potential playoff spot if you win.
Yes.
They did not, and 8-3, but they're still a good football team. They're playing really well as of late. I think it'll be close. It's not a game that I'll be betting on. You may. I'm not going to. I think Notre Dame can make this one interesting. I think this one stays fairly close.
Yeah, my head says that USC should win this game by at least a touchdown, just because it's Caleb Williams against Drew Pine. But Notre Dame is playing really physically right now. They've been running the ball well for most of their games in the second half of the season, including against Clemson, where they ran at will despite having basically a non-threat at quarterback. I don't know. Maybe this is just the team that doesn't turn it over wins. I don't know, because this could be it feels kind of weird to say this about a Notre Dame game. It could almost be a bit shootout-y as far as just both teams scoring a lot. Not your classical shootout where both teams are dropping 80-yard bombs. USC might do a little bit of that. I don't know. I don't know what to expect, just because it's such a weird matchup. I do think that there will be a lot to take away from it. Lincoln Riley and Marcus Freeman, they're going to face each other a lot more times, I think. And both programs could really use this win, for sure.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think there's no doubt that USC is further ahead than what we thought. Starting the year. So potential playoff team. I think USC maybe needs a little help, but I do think that they are still a probability to get in if they win out. I think they would sneak in over Clemson. All things holding the same. I don't have a good feel for this game. Like I don't,
Mhm.
it's on the road, which is usually not a great thing, but there's no home field advantage for USC. Like that's not Williams Bryce from last Saturday night. Like there won't be many fans, and the ones that will be there won't be loud. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think in that case you can kind of almost discount like home field advantages there a little bit. I think Notre Dame kind of keeps it close. That's kind of my feel.
Mhm.
I think the line's actually probably about right. Yeah, because if the line was anything over a score, I would be trying to get in on Notre Dame
Yeah.
over 7 points. But I think the line's about appropriate there.
I I think that one huge feather in USC's cap over Clemson, if they were to win out, would simply be this game.
Yeah, right.
Clemson lost to Notre Dame in embarrassing fashion, frankly. And
Yeah,
if USC wins out, it will by definition have beaten Notre Dame. So that would be a big comparison point that it would be hard to ignore.
yeah. No, agreed.
All
Agreed.
right, a game I did not think we would talk about this late in the year as having some stakes. Tennessee is at Vanderbilt.
Okay.
Tennessee, a 14.5 point favorite. What they were playing for was the playoff at that point in the season.
Right.
That's over now. Vanderbilt, on the other hand, they're playing to make a bowl game. And unfortunately, like we talked about Hendon Hooker, we hate to see him out, but that means that Joe Milton will be playing for Tennessee.
Yes.
So we got Vanderbilt playing for bowl eligibility against Joe Milton. Now, who would not want to watch that?
They call him Bazooka Joe. Bazooka Joe is his
Yes.
name. Is that guy has an absolute cannon, by the way, but not much for decision making in the middle of the field. He throws the ball a long way, and that's kind of about all he does. So the line 14 points.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt and Tennessee. Tennessee was a playoff team literally last week. And Vanderbilt's Vanderbilt. That line is 14 points. Are you kidding? Does Tennessee have anything left to play for? Like it feels like that was so deflating of a loss that you went from having it all out there to now this is it, man. Like we're gonna be 10-2. That's the best case scenario. Um the Yeah, I'm staying away from it. I'm not betting on this one. I think if you play it like a three safeties high on defense for Vanderbilt, you don't let Bazooka Joe throw over the top of you. Like I don't think he's going to be able. If Hendon Hooker couldn't go down the field either. So yeah, I think Vanderbilt. I think the line again is about right. I think this is Tennessee's a better football team, no doubt. But I'm not letting people go pile a whole bunch of money on Vanderbilt. That's why I keep that line so low.
Sure thing. Okay, Oregon is at Oregon State, the game formerly known as the Civil War. Oregon, a 3.5 point favorite on the road in Corvallis.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking about Oregon State some, especially in the offseason. We talked about them, and then they've quietly gone 8-3 with most of that without Chance Nolan, their starting quarterback. They're
Yeah.
yeah, they're sneaky good. That said, like, do you feel like they can actually beat this Oregon team?
No, like I think I said, I think in the preview from or sorry in the recap from last week, I think Oregon's probably the most complete team in the Pac-12.
Mhm.
This is a rivalry game, and Oregon State has overachieved. I feel like no doubt, but Oregon's on a different level. Like just from a talent standpoint, I think Bo Nix is playing really well this year. I think he's going to continue to play well. I think they run the ball. They have a good receiver there in Franklin. I really like their offense, and I think their defense is physical. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think Oregon. This is I don't I mean I think it'll be close, but Oregon is they're the more complete team overall. I
Sure.
really like how complete they are right now, and I think they're even on the road. I still think they're the best team in the Pac-12, and I think they win.
Yeah, I kind of view it a little bit the same way as I viewed when Oregon State was playing USC, which that game didn't make any sense, by the way. But what I said at the time was I like Oregon State against most decent teams. I don't know that I like
Sure.
them against kind of the cream of the crop teams.
Right.
And Oregon is one of the cream of the crop of the Pac 12. And I think Oregon State is kind of that next tier. And I don't know if they have quite the horses to hang super, super tight.
Yeah.
Now, I say all that knowing it's happened before. And I like Oregon State. I like what Jonathan Smith is doing there, their head
Sure.
coach. But yeah,
Sure.
this just feels like Oregon has a roster that's just clearly more talented. I feel like
Yeah.
they don't have as much to play for as they used to, but they're still playing for a New Year's Six bowl game, and
That's
that
right.
would mean
In their
something to Dan
conference.
Lanning in his first year.
Yeah. And their conference.
And their
Like
conference,
they can
yes.
still win the Pac-12, which is like if you're a first year head coach and you won your conference, like that's huge success. Like that's
Absolutely.
something that you build with like even recruiting, like that affects everything. So yeah, I think Oregon will be plenty motivated, not worried about that.
Yeah. All right. We had a lot of games we didn't have time to actually preview, but I'll just kind of run through them right now. Friday night, Baylor is at Texas. Texas, a 8.5-point favorite. Also Friday night, Tulane is at Cincinnati. Cincinnati, a 2.5-point favorite. NC State is at North Carolina. North Carolina, a 6.5-point favorite. All of those are watchable, I would say. Saturday, Georgia Tech is at Georgia. Georgia, a 36.5-point favorite. Georgia Tech feisty right now, but obviously Georgia is the more talented team. Minnesota is at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's favored by 3. This game would have meant a lot more potentially a month ago. Still is a battle for pride, rivalry game. Michigan State is at Penn State. Penn State favored by 18.5. Kansas is at Kansas State. Kansas State favored by 11.5. And I believe all they need to do to go to the Big 12 championship game is win this game, which I think they probably will. But it is a rivalry. Kansas has played well at times this year, so we'll see. Pitt is at Miami, Florida. Pitt is a 6.5-point favorite. Miami, another team that feels like they've kind of quit on the season a little bit. We'll see what happens. And then one last game, the Apple Cup. Washington is at Washington State. Somehow Washington is only favored by 2.5, which feels wrong to me.
Mm-hmm.
But Washington State has been feisty this year. So,
okay.
Yeah.